What if the bond between a mother and her baby is not simply the strongest human bond that exists, but is, according to neuroscience, the single relationship that shapes every other relationship a person will ever have, the original template from which the brain builds its entire understanding of love, safety, trust, and what it means to be truly known by another human being? And what if the depth of that bond, the fierce and sometimes breathtaking intensity of a baby's attachment to their mother, is not just an emotional fact, but a biological one, written into the architecture of two nervous systems simultaneously, built from the inside out before the baby ever took a breath in the outside world, and designed by millions of years of evolution to be not merely strong, but essentially unbreakable? That question, why babies are attached to their mothers with a devotion so complete, so cellular, so woven into the fabric of who they are that separation from her can feel to a baby like the end of the world itself, is one of the oldest questions in the science of human development, and the answer that research has assembled across decades of neuroscience and developmental psychology and evolutionary biology is so layered, so surprising in its details, and so quietly magnificent in its implications that understanding it fully does not just explain the mother-baby bond, it illuminates something at the very heart of what it means to be human, what it means to need another person, not as a luxury, but as a biological necessity, and why the first and deepest love of a human life leaves marks that time and distance and even loss can never entirely erase. The story begins, as so many of the most important stories about babies begin, before birth, because the mother-baby bond is not initiated at the moment of delivery. It is not triggered by the first skin-to-skin contact, or the first feeding, or the first time a mother looks into her newborn's eyes. It is a bond that has been building, slowly and invisibly, and with extraordinary biochemical precision, across the entire arc of pregnancy, and the baby who arrives in the world already attached to their mother is not attached because of what has happened since birth, but because of everything that happened before it. In the warm and intimate darkness of the womb, where the mother was not just a presence, but an entire environment, not just a person, but the whole world. By the third trimester of pregnancy, the developing baby has been immersed for months in the specific soundscape of their mother's body. The rhythm of her heartbeat, which was the original metronome of their existence, the resonance of her voice conducted through bone and tissue and fluid, with a closeness and a warmth that no microphone and no speaker could ever replicate. The particular cadences of her breathing and her laughter, and even the emotional fluctuations of her voice when she is calm versus when she is anxious, and all of this has been absorbed, registered, and filed in the developing brain as the definition of safety, the sensory signature of home, the neurological equivalent of true north. This is not poetry, it is physiology. Researchers have measured the fetal heart rate response to the mother's voice versus the voice of a stranger and found measurable differences, have documented the way a baby in utero responds differently to music the mother played repeatedly during pregnancy versus music it has never heard, have shown with elegant and heartbreaking clarity that the baby's nervous system is not a blank slate at birth, but a being already tuned, already calibrated, already oriented toward one specific person in all the world as the source and center of safety. Then birth happens, and in the cascade of physiological events that surrounds delivery, something extraordinary occurs in both nervous systems simultaneously. In the mother's brain, a surge of oxytocin, the neurochemical known colloquially as the bonding hormone, but more accurately understood as the social salience molecule, the chemical that makes another person feel uniquely important, uniquely irreplaceable, uniquely worth protecting, floods the system at levels that are among the highest the human brain ever produces, higher than romantic love, higher than friendship, higher even than the oxytocin released during orgasm. A flood so potent that researchers who study it describe its effect on the maternal brain as something close to the neurological equivalent of imprinting, a rapid and deep reorganization of what matters, what is worth any cost, what the self is now in service of. And in the baby's brain, simultaneously, the sensory landscape of birth, the particular smell of the mother's skin, the sound of a heartbeat now heard from the outside rather than the inside, the specific quality of her touch, activates the same oxytocin systems that have been priming for exactly this moment across 9 months of prenatal development, and the bond that locks into place in those first hours after birth is not a new creation. It is the culmination of a process that has been building since conception, the final step in a biological program whose entire purpose was to produce exactly this. 2 nervous systems, a mother's and a baby's, recognizing each other with a depth and a certainty that bypasses conscious thought entirely and settles into the body as something that simply and completely is. Now here is the first twist that most people have never considered, and it changes the picture significantly. The intensity of a baby's attachment to their mother is not, despite what intuition might suggest, primarily a response to being fed and held and kept warm. It is primarily a response to something more subtle and more profound than physical care. And the research that established this fact is one of the most important and most frequently misunderstood findings in the history of developmental psychology. In the 1950s and 60s, a psychologist named Harry Harlow conducted a series of now famous experiments with infant rhesus monkeys, giving them 2 surrogate mothers, one made of wire that provided food, and one made of soft cloth that provided only warmth and physical comfort. And the infant monkeys chose the cloth mother overwhelmingly and almost exclusively, spending the vast majority of their time clinging to the soft one rather than the feeding one, running to the cloth mother when frightened rather than the wire one, using the cloth mother as a secure base from which to explore and to which to return when distressed, which shattered the then dominant theory that infant attachment was simply a learned association between the caregiver and the satisfaction of hunger, and revealed something far more important. What babies are most fundamentally attached to is not the source of food. It is the source of comfort, of felt safety, of the specific sensory experience of being held and soothed and regulated, which is, in the context of the mother-baby bond, the entire landscape of what a mother's presence provides, the heartbeat and the warmth and the voice and the smell and the particular quality of being held by the one body in the world that the baby's nervous system was built inside. Here is the second twist, and this one is perhaps the most remarkable finding of modern neuroscience on the subject of maternal attachment. Researchers studying the brains of mothers using functional MRI scanning have discovered that the maternal brain undergoes a process of significant and measurable structural change during pregnancy and in the months after birth, a process sometimes called matrescence, in which gray matter is reorganized, neural circuits involved in social cognition and threat detection and emotional attunement are strengthened and refined, and the brain essentially rewires itself to be better at the specific cognitive and emotional demands of being a mother to this specific baby. And these changes have been documented to persist for at least 2 years after birth, with some researchers suggesting that the neural reorganization of early motherhood leaves permanent marks on the brain's architecture, changes so fundamental that a mother's brain after having a child is measurably and structurally different from the brain she had before, as if the experience of being bonded to a baby does not just change what a person feels, but changes the physical structure of who they are. And the baby, it turns out, is not a passive recipient of this bond, but an active co-creator of it. Because the things babies do naturally in the early weeks and months of life, the gazing and the cooing, and the smiling, and the reaching, and the settling when held, all of these behaviors are not random expressions of general contentment. They are, from the perspective of evolutionary biology, precisely calibrated attachment behaviors, signals specifically designed to trigger and maintain the caregiving responses of the mother, to activate her oxytocin system, to reward her investment with the experience of being needed and responded to and genuinely, visibly, irresistibly loved. So that the bond is not one-directional but circular, a feedback loop of mutual activation in which the baby draws the mother in and the mother's response draws the baby closer. And each cycle of connection deepens both nervous systems' investment in the other. Understanding the depth and the mechanism of the mother-baby bond also requires understanding what it provides the baby that nothing else can, which is the experience of what attachment theorists call a secure base, a felt sense of safety and reliability and unconditional availability that allows the baby to do the most important work of early childhood, which is to explore, to venture outward into the unfamiliar, to take the risks that learning requires, to encounter the world with curiosity rather than terror. Because the baby who has internalized the mother as a secure base carries her presence inside them even when she is not in the room, holds her as a felt resource in moments of stress and novelty, draws on the accumulated experience of thousands of moments of being held and soothed and responded to as a kind of emotional reserve that makes the world manageable in her absence. Mary Ainsworth, whose landmark strange situation research in the 1970s remains the gold standard of infant attachment measurement, found that babies who had formed a secure attachment to their primary caregiver, who had learned through thousands of repetitions that when they signaled distress, the signal would be met, that the arms would come and the voice would arrive and the world would be manageable again, were not the babies who clung most desperately or who were most distressed by separation. They were the babies who explored most boldly, who engaged most readily with strangers, who recovered most quickly from upset, because the security of the bond had given them the internal resources to be temporarily apart from it, which is one of the most beautiful paradoxes in all of developmental science. The baby who is most securely attached is the one who is most free. What this means for the specific and sometimes overwhelming intensity of a baby's attachment to their mother. The reaching, the crying when she leaves the room, the settling that happens when she returns that no one else can quite replicate, the particular quality of peace that her presence produces that is different in kind from any other comfort, is that it is not dependency in the way adults sometimes use that word, dismissively, as a thing to be reduced or overcome as quickly as possible. It is the neurological expression of a bond whose depth is proportional to its importance, whose intensity reflects not weakness, but the extraordinary biological significance of this one relationship above all others. The relationship that was the baby's entire world before the world began. The relationship whose sensory signature is the oldest and deepest definition of safety the baby's brain possesses. The relationship that is not just emotionally central but physiologically foundational. The original source code from which the baby's entire understanding of what it means to be loved and to trust and to be safe in the world is being written one ordinary, extraordinary moment at a time. And the mother, who sometimes feels exhausted by the intensity of that need, who wonders sometimes whether it will ever be enough or whether she will ever be enough, can know this. The reaching is not a burden. It is the highest possible testament to what she has already given. It is the baby's nervous system voting with everything it has for the one person it has learned, in the oldest and most undeceivable way, to trust completely. And that trust, that specific and irreplaceable and world-making trust, is not given. It is earned quietly and consistently and without fanfare, in the 10,000 small moments of showing up that a baby's brain is counting even when no one else is, building from each one a picture of the world as a place where love is reliable, where safety has a face, where the most frightening thing about being alive, which is being alone in it, is something that does not have to be faced alone. Subscribe for more mind secrets.